Emily Sorensen, the Business Development Executive for Calgary, and I have the pleasure of assisting and hosting today's event. Today, we will be speaking to Emily Misk, the owner of Port Credit Mortgages. She will be discussing on how she transformed her mortgage business to be 100% virtual well before COVID pandemic and subsequent lockdowns. Emily is known for her community involvement through social media and often hosts educational seminars to help support first-time homebuyers, homeowners, and investors. Emily's goal is to help her clients better understand their home ownership dreams to help match the best product or service for their purchase. Creating an experience where clients feel comfortable asking questions, understanding the process, and often commenting, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Buying a home can be overwhelming and stressful, and the financing journey can be overly complicated. Emily finds joy in breaking things down into bite-sized, manageable pieces for homeowners to feel empowered. She has been brokering for more than a decade and enjoys the privilege of helping people transition from the dream of home ownership to becoming first-time home buyers and then purchasing their next dream home. She enjoys spending time with her 2 kids, husband, and pup outdoors. If the kids are visiting grandma, Emily can be found with her husband, Josh, enjoying a hot coffee or a full-bodied red wine from the West Coast. Well, I'm almost in the West Coast, so maybe I'll be doing that in a bit here, but you guys, some of you are joining us from the future over on the East Coast. So I'd like to let Emily take the floor here.
Thank you so much. I love that introduction. So nice. Thanks everyone for having me. I won't do another introduction because that one was great. I appreciate it. I'm just going to share my screen. Maybe I can get a little thumbs up if you can see me. So I echo exactly what Emily just said, and I welcome you to please turn your cameras on. We are in a web meeting versus a webinar for intention. The intention is that I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how I have created relationships through social media and how I leverage the digital world essentially to create lasting relationships, which I think is super transferable to what you do as well. And part of that is being engaged, and part of being engaged is not just listening to someone ramble along, but actually turning on your camera. If you have a question, I very much encourage you to unmute and ask it, interrupt me. Let's get to know each other and connect. And that's a great way for you to then take this type of information and apply it to your individual businesses. And that's basically what I'm going to talk to you about today. As Emily had mentioned, I started my career a long time ago at CIBC. It was probably closer almost to 20 years, to be honest with you, as time continues to pass. So I had always been face-to-face with clients because we worked in branches and that sort of thing. And when I had children, it was no longer really an option to do that when I ended up going into the broker channel because I had kids with me all the time. And we were just chatting about that before coming on this call, what childcare looks like and that kind of thing, because our lives get busy and it's important that we have our abilities to still make connections with people. So that's a little bit about me. What I would like to ask you, and just inside your own minds, just to ask yourself, how comfortable are you currently on a scale of 1 to 10 using social media? And you can kind of just think about that. Right? Some people are very uncomfortable. Some people are super comfortable. What's currently limiting you? And then what do you hope to get out of this session? And if you can think about those things as we continue on, I think it'll be helpful. Maybe we can start to pop some of those limiting beliefs and have them dissipate so that you can maybe apply some of these things. Another thing that I'd like to touch on is that I specifically have built my business more recently on Instagram, but everyone has a different channel. I know Emily is very active on LinkedIn. Some people really love TikTok. Others are really great with Pinterest or Google. It really depends on what's going to resonate with you, or you can use email marketing. Whatever it is that's going to allow you to touch with your database and be very approachable, where you're not just picking up a call. I'm going to pause for a second and just ask if anyone has any questions so far. And I want to say to Brian, thank you for turning your camera on and being present with me. I truly appreciate it. Makes me feel not alone. If anybody else wants to, I will encourage it and congratulate you as well. So one of the things I wanted to share is where we start with this type of thing is so many people come to me, and I actually teach social media to other mortgage brokers as a paid course. Um, they'll come to me and say, I don't know where to start. I don't know what I should do. So this is a kind of crash course I'll give you on what you can do to start to connect with your clients on a very regular basis, because sometimes when we do our email marketing, it might be quarterly, or perhaps we do our email marketing and it's monthly. Social media allows you to touch your database and talk to your database more frequently, as well as share a little bit about who you are. And we really like to work with people that we know, right? So if we know, like, and trust someone already, it's really easy to get their business because they're already kind of known to us. So how we can start this with, if we're starting fresh from a new feed, or if you have one already, is clear messaging. So if I were to Google Emily today, I would hope to know that, I know what she does for a profession, what is her main objective, that sort of thing. It should be very clear. If I were to Google, if you look me up, for example, you'll know I'm a mortgage broker. It's not going to be confusing as to, am I a realtor? Am I, in sales of something else? Do I work at a bank? It's very clear. I am a mortgage broker and I own my own business. So I would Google yourself, and I would consider looking at that and seeing, is it clear what I do? Did you have a question, Emily?
Yeah, I do. So
Yeah.
we speak about elevator pitch a lot,
Yes.
how you introduce yourself to someone. So this is essentially just carrying that to, a platform, right?
Absolutely.
And the consistency of your elevator speech. But I think it's interesting because I was speaking with someone the other day who has an elevator speech that is slightly altered with each, situation. So I think that's an interesting thing, because you mentioned Instagram versus LinkedIn. And so as long as it's consistent, but can play to that platform a bit, do you recommend that?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I would definitely, you wouldn't want to put, for example, like hashtags on a LinkedIn post the same way that you would on an Instagram post, but the messaging can be the same. So you would want to customize and tailor things to some degree, but the overall messaging is the same. And our websites, our social media, our Google stuff, they really are our digital business cards now. So it's a way of you showcasing who you are very clearly. So as long as it's, consistent in some capacity, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. The next thing I will ask you to do is to take a look at your bios. If your bio on LinkedIn is completely different because it's outdated and you don't really go on there very often because you're not really job hunting, you should still have it up to date. You want other professionals might need insurance too, right? Like if they're connected to you and then you're saying what you do and that's accurate, that's really clear. And consider putting those in your bios on, your Google My Business, your Instagram pages, everything consistent. So people know exactly who you are and how to get a hold of you. Because if they want an insurance question answered, it's very important that they can quickly call you or email you that question. The consistently we did chat about. So with social media, it's not monthly. It doesn't have to be crazy planned ahead. I like to, because I like to have things organized. However, it's daily. You could just pop on and say, I'm working on a file today. These are the struggles I'm hitting, or this is the client that I saved, or this is what I was able to add value on. It could be as quick as that. Just showing a little behind the scenes of what you're working on and how you can help others in a similar situation like that. Sometimes people don't know exactly what you do. They'll say, I think she's in banking, or I think she does this. But if you're showing up every day saying, I help people get into home ownership through lending, it's very clear. So don't be afraid to come in every day and say something about what you're doing and how that benefits your clients, your business, your community, whatever the case may be. And then time. It takes a long time to create these relationships. It's just like a real life out there relationship. If you're super genuine and honest and true, I would say it took me about a year to start getting business from my social media. However, it's free and it didn't take very long in the sense of, 1 or 2 posts a day, which take 2 or 3 minutes to start getting that consistent business coming in. And then calls to action. You can't just post and hope that someone will figure it out. You really need to say what you want them to do next. So what's that next step? We want to assume the close. We want to ask them to click the bio or fill in the application or make a call, that sort of thing. Refer me someone, leave me a Google review. Those are things we are asking for every single day so that people know what type of referral to send you, or they know what you're asking for in your business. Very clear intended. That is not the right slide next. That is the last one.
When you do refer, like, when you get someone to speak to how you help them,
Mhm.
I was just on an advocates call and we chatted about how, to guide that conversation a bit, like, did I help
Absolutely.
you with these 3 points, kind of,
Yes.
because, like, just to say, Barb is a great financial advisor. Like, that might not be as effective as if you were to say, Barb helped me realize that I was paying more for taxes than I should have been in that situation. And
Absolutely.
yes. So
Tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often will just pick up my phone and quickly go on Instagram and say, I just submitted a file for a client who thought they could not get approved for a mortgage. We were able to strategize and compile the documents. I analyzed everything and actually send it back to the same lender that previously had declined them. The way that they got approved was simply looking at it from a different perspective and having that experience where I've actually done this exact file 2 or 3 weeks ago. I knew where to send it, how to send it, what to package it up. And within 3 days, we had a firm approval. That client is now a homeowner. That type of thing. You're not saying their name or anything confidential. You're just sharing how you were able to create a win out of a situation by clearly creating a story. So then someone else watching that goes, well, geez, I had a situation where I was declined and I thought I would never get into a home. Maybe I should call them. You know what I mean? You're explaining something more than just saying, I sell mortgages. Like, so does everybody else, right? Like, it's like the most saturated industry. What do you do that's different and how do you do it? Explain the how. So these are some of the platforms that you can look to. I kind of touched on them already. You do not have to do the same one or all of them. I would suggest picking one or two and focusing on them, and pick the one that resonates with you the best. It's easier to pick something that is aligned with who you are versus trying to align with something else. I focused much of my time on Instagram, and then I cross post things into Facebook and LinkedIn, but I create the content first for Instagram. I am now posting everything on Google as well because that helps analytics. And something to think about is how you want to present yourself. When we're talking about our businesses, it's very boring for me to just talk about mortgages only. If I say 5-year term, 30-year amortization, how do you get someone to follow you for 3 years, 4 years, to engage you and to be part of your community if they only need a mortgage once every 5 years? I can't just talk to you about loan to value or ratios or rates today. It's not applicable to your life all the time. So what I can do is give you other things that might benefit you so that you'll always come back to me as a circle of influence. And how I do that is by sharing things like my community. Port Credit is where I live, things I'm interested in. If I'm traveling, is there a way for you to get a deal on something? Is there a great place or a recommendation I can make? Food or meals or what I'm baking or cooking. These types of things people then ask, oh, what's the recipe for that? Or how long did that take? Those are relationships that we're giving and creating by sharing just a little bit about ourselves. Before I got on this call, I was telling Emily, she knows that I'm looking to move to Kelowna. And she said, well, where are you now? I said, I'm not, I'm in Kingston. My brother just had a baby. And I have been telling pretty much every single one of my clients that my brother had a baby. So I'm not taking calls right now. I am working and I am typing, but I am holding a newborn. So be aware, I'm not going to answer the phone because I'm having my eyes on this child. Normally I would take vacation time, but it's just not really timing working with the spring market. She didn't align her pregnancy there, but you would not be surprised with how many people now are asking about this baby and care. They're almost like vested with me. And they're my clients and they're not complaining about the fact they can't call me right now. I will call you in an hour or two. But they are not complaining, upset. They are excited and part of it with me because I've shared that with them. And now they are almost like locked in. Like they want to know, is she like, what does she look like? What color are her eyes? That's a way that you are creating that relationship, and that it's very organic and natural. And then you just want to decide, and that goes to the know, like, and trust. And that then you want to decide in your strategy and how you want to create it. Do you want to do video? Video is a very great way, which is why I say cameras on, really easily to connect to people. It also really shows your expertise very quickly. When something's written, we don't really know if you wrote it. Did you cut and paste it from a glossary? I don't know. But when you give a video and you show up and show your face and your voice and your sounds and your background and where you are and what's happening, people connect with that. So is it stories that you want to do, static posts, online and in person? Keeping in mind, when you're in person places, if you're meeting a client for a coffee, take a picture of that coffee in the mug and say, I'm going to have a meeting right now. Let people know what you're doing behind the scenes in your business, even if it is in real life. There's so many ways that you can share what you're doing, and you might think it's boring or normal or routine, whereas other people might be like, I don't go for coffees for part of my business. That's cool. Or what coffee shop are you at? Are you supporting a local coffee shop? How do you take your coffee? What's going on over there? So it all leads to that getting to know someone at the end of the day. And please stop me if this is too much rambling. The tools and automations that I like to think about is, how often do you want to post? And how often do you want to commit to frequently showing up? It does not have to be every day, but it should be consistent so that you become in a habit and it's part of your business plan. So just like you've decided to do a newsletter or call your clients 3 times a year or something of that nature where you have a clear strategy of touch points, how many times do you want to touch your clients online, and how do you want to do it? Is it through Instagram? Is it through other channels? And how will you engage? What are you going to do to connect with others, not just post on yours? It's almost like going to a party. If you were to go to a real party in a real room with drinks and music, you probably wouldn't sit in the corner of the room with your back to everyone, just saying things every once in a while. You probably would turn, chat to the person beside you, have a conversation over there, and talk to them about what their interests are. You really want to do that also on social media. Treat it like a party and create those genuine relationships through asking questions and being engaging. And then you want to also track, right, with analytics. That's why we use business pages, so we know where our leads are coming from in the follow-up. And your call to actions. What do you want them to do? I always want my clients to either book a call, I want to do a discovery call with them, or I want them to fill in an application. Those are my 2 biggest call to actions. Sometimes I'll throw in, come to this event if I want them to come to an education presentation that I'm hosting, like a first-time homebuyer seminar. Sometimes it'll be, click here to donate to a cause I'm supporting. But most of the time, I want an application or I want a discovery call. And I am asking for that every single darn day, without fail, all the time. And you just say, click the link in my bio, right? So here's some sample call to actions if you wanted to screen grab this one that we use. It could be you're asking them to click the link in the bio. It could be asking for a comment on something, inviting them somewhere, and it doesn't have to be a digital seminar. It could be, an actual event that you're hosting and sponsoring and giving back in your community. It could be raising awareness about a cause you really care about, or asking for a Google review is a really great one, or a testimonial if you want to use that on your LinkedIn to help build your credibility with your audience. And you could also ask for introductions. Does anyone know anyone in the community that needs advice on this topic, this topic, this topic? If so, I would like an introduction. Please, email introduce them, or send me an email if you have a question about your mortgage, something like that. You can ask people to do things for you. You can also ask for recommendations. The strategy and the follow-up. This is so important. We can't just say things and not do anything with them afterwards. So it's not enough to just post and leave it and hope, oh gosh, I hope that I can retire in 2 years based on those 3 posts I put on Facebook last week. We really need to engage and set aside time and answer the questions that we ask. So if someone takes the time to answer one of your questions, really go in and thank them, appreciate their contribution. Or if they ask you a question, that is a privilege and an honor that they're trusting you. So, try to get them on the phone or on an email afterwards so that you can follow up. Because remember, we don't own the social media channels. Very, very rich people in Silicon Valley do. We want to end up getting that name, email address, and the phone number for follow up in our database. Engaging. I can't say engaging enough on other people's content. If you're commenting on other people's walls and feeds, your name's going to follow up there and you're going to get tagged in all of the people's that have contacted prior. It's totally free advertising and you will be top of mind and continue to be top of mind. And again, I'm going to leave with call to action, right? So we need to always say what we want them to do, like click the link here or fill in this form, whatever the case may be. Back to where to begin. Here's some samples of what my previous, this is a little dated now from one of my prior presentations, but you can see the point. The bio is very clear. I'm a mortgage broker in Mississauga. I focus on renovations and design tricks, and I showcase favorite local businesses in my community. And here's the link to complete a quick and easy pre-approval. So that is the call to action. The Linktree is a great free tool you can use where you have multiple links that you can place. And I'll have, Google reviews, seminars, education, events, that sort of thing where you can click it there. And then relevant highlights that you want to focus on that show who you are. So I have my build, we built a house. I have community give back where we invest our time to give in our community. Client feedback, which is Google reviews. The election was a big deal for us for a while. So there's that there. That's not there now on mine today, but it was there before. You could put something that's newsworthy, that sort of thing.
Emily, can you
Yes.
explain that Linktree?
Yep.
How's
You
that work?
absolutely got it right here. So when you click into the Linktree, this is exactly what it will look like. Okay,
Yeah.
so you click it, and then all of these buttons have hyperlinks to them, and they're built right in. So if somebody wanted to know what events, they would click all events. If they wanted to leave me a Google review, it's right there. And as you can see, my two things that I focus on the most are at the top. So apply for a mortgage, that's the application, and book a call with me, that's direct into my calendar. So everyone's going to have, and I put my podcasts that I'm featured on or events that I've done in the past, if they want to register for a digital and get it. And
Yeah.
you basically get clicked right to that link and it'll go right there for you to leverage and see. So you can drag and drop those.
I like that because in our situation, let's say we're doing educational events and we've got a month coming up of June and we've got dates in June that have events going on in those dates. Is that something you can post on LinkedIn and then have that link
Absolutely.
to that date and register for that event?
Absolutely. I have it in my LinkedIn. I have it in my email signature.
Yeah.
I have it in my my Instagram link in bio, and it's free. There's a free version.
We may, I can see where the ladies are probably, wheels are turning, and we should probably talk to you about how to set that up in our world.
Oh, certainly.
Because that's something that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay, great. Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And then other things to consider just while we're talking about kind of building a brand. We are, at the end of the day, not social media experts, right? Even when I'm teaching this to my mortgage broker colleagues, I say to them, I'm still a mortgage broker first, a very successful mortgage broker first. I just happen to find some success in social media. I am not an influencer. I am not here to tell you do these 5 things and you will have a lot of business. What I will say is this has worked for me and it's working well for me. And these are some of the things I consider. So there may be way more, and there's probably someone out there that's way better at, marketing than I am, but I'm good at funding deals and strategizing and underwriting. These are things that have worked for me from a marketing perspective. So using consistent font. So even in this presentation, I use the same font on my Canva for my presentations as I do now for my kids' birthday parties. It's all in a brand kit. It's all for my social media. It's all the same. So everything's kind of like blue, gray, and black and easy to see so that everyone kind of associates those colors with me now. Same with the fonts. High quality photos only that you have permission to use. So we're not stealing anything off Google with watermarks on it. We're using things that are ours or that are public for all. And you can do that by leveraging Canva. Canva's got a paid program for like $12 a month, and you get a full database of photos and content, all great stuff. High quality photos of yourself. no more selfies or blurry backgrounds or, something awful in the background as well. Take the time to get 1 or 2 headshots. It will cost money, but it separates you in a professional setting to look the way that you want to be portrayed. Put a smile on, that sort of thing. It doesn't have to be high-end fashion and fake. It just has to be clearly you, and make it look like you too. I can't tell you how many realtors I work with, and I've gone and met them face to face like 3 years later, and their headshot was from like 1994. The person I'm meeting for coffee is not the person that was on the business card. That's just, I don't know who that person is anymore. So be up to date so that we know when we're working with you that we know, like, trust, and it is who you are, who you are. Fact checking. Ensure the stuff you're sharing is correct. You're there advising. It's so important that we are writing information that's accurate. And you can have opinions. You want people to know your opinion, but just know that you're saying, in my opinion, that sort of thing, versus this is the way it is, because people will start to hold on to what you say, and you can really damage your reputation if you put something out there that's not a lie, but not true or not accurate. And those mistakes are tough, and when it's on the internet, it can technically last forever. Just define your look if you're starting fresh. So think about what you want. Take some time, think about it. What colors recognize or do you resonate with? And don't be afraid to Google what colors mean, because certain colors feel weird to people, and that might then be something that you're putting out there. So, blue is loyal, blue is trusting, red is a lot of passion. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. It depends, right? Green could be envious, or it could be money, so think about those types of things and what you want to create and envision for yourself so that you can consistently repurpose. And then it goes back to what are you interested in? What makes you different? What is your why? These are all things you can use anyway in daily conversations. You're just taking what you know already and what you're probably doing already and applying it online so that you can do it more accurate or more frequently and without getting in your car or blocking off an hour. It's just a little bit more plug and play. And then, go above and beyond just your area of focus. Talk about who you are so that people can really get to know you and they want to work with you because you shared something with them. And then these are just a few what not to do. And I gave examples in there as well. So don't use so many colors that don't go together nicely and that are hard to read. So that little light green, you can almost not see the word read. It's hard on the eyes. Nobody wants to, and they'll scroll past it. So be clear and consistent with things that are legible. Don't copy people and give credit where credit's due. So I wouldn't go just onto another, planner's website and cut and paste their words. I had one time a mortgage broker cut and paste my caption identically to the point where she said, "When I left the bank in 1998 and had my son Ronald," like, there's no one else out there, I think, that is in the last 15 years that has named their child Ronald, it's just that's not the case. And you left the bank and you know what I mean? Like, it was so obvious. So, and it is what it is. I got over it pretty quickly, but I do bring it up in almost every session as well. So maybe I'm not that over it, but be you, be genuine, be consistent, and be honest. Don't just steal, spell check and proofread. I always have my husband. I did today. I asked him, can you just quickly look through my slides and make sure I didn't do any grammatical errors? And again, use high quality photos. Visually, you don't want to have too much written on a photo. Captions are for this reason. This looks messy. Don't cut and paste like your head chopped off. If you chop your head off, it just looks silly. So those are just some things I tell people, maybe, just move that photo down a bit and that'll look great. That's pretty much it for today for me. I'm right on a half hour. I'm not sure if you want it longer or not. I hope that's okay. Does anyone have any questions?
I've got a bunch of notes, but I'd like to open it up. Like, if you want to open up your microphones, everybody, and if you had a question for Emily, now's the time to ask. I mean, I think the biggest question, Emily, sometimes is like, I'm on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn all the time. I post pictures on LinkedIn at events. I've done this on my trip that I'm just on now. How do how do I switch now to Instagram? I'm looking at saying, I think I'm missing something by not being on Instagram. And everybody, it seems, is posting things on TikTok. So like everybody's buying insurance and doing insurance talks on TikTok. How did that become so popular all of a sudden?
Well, I think video, video is very important. Like I said, the know, like, and trust and getting to know someone and communicating that way. You can also do more speaking in a video than you can by typing.
Right.
I would suggest sticking with what you're comfortable with versus saying, now I'm going to jump on TikTok and LinkedIn. And Instagram. I'll be honest with you. I have TikTok. I don't really know how to use it effectively. I think all I try to do is go viral all the time. And it's like, you're a mortgage broker, Emily. You're not a celebrity. You're not a singer. You don't, how many people are really going to listen to me talk about mortgages? If I get 200 or 300, which I usually get around 1,000, that's a good amount of viewership on something I'm saying. And I'm very happy with that. That's I would say more important to me. If you're doing well with LinkedIn, I would consider to just continue to do that. I would maybe consider doing more of things like that. Maybe blogging then becomes your thing,
right?
Because that's the longer form writing versus I'm going to try and be where everyone else is. I would try and just double down on what you're doing.
And how do you evaluate for yourself? Like, as an example, I did something in Ottawa and I had 2,700 hits on this thing. I did something a day later on something else and I had like 280 hits. So the one thing resonated with a larger audience for whatever reason, and the other one not so much. So should I beat a dead horse and do more of the stuff that's not hitting and resonating, or should I do more of the other one and just try and expand that network?
I do try to do consistently the same types of things if it's working. So for me, it's educating and entertaining. People, I use Taylor Swift, which is, fluffy and silly.
Yeah.
I lip sync to her to mortgages and people think it's hysterical. And I get deals from that. Like, a very good amount of my revenue comes from me singing Taylor Swift, which is ridiculous, but it actually works. So, and then if I throw in something else, literally people will comment and be like, oh my God, you listen to other kinds of music? And I'm like, I do. I tricked you. Here you go. And then, I'll go back to Taylor pretty much right away, because I always do.
And Dawn, do you feel like I get a lot of questions about, a lot of the conversations have been around like why you're going to Instagram, why you're going to TikTok from LinkedIn, because we all have LinkedIn. And I think a lot of it is rooted in, who is your network on LinkedIn? Our network, my network on LinkedIn is all financial advisors.
Right.
So am I wanting to advertise to financial advisors? Yes, I do, because I'm a BDE and I want to do that. But if you are an advisor, do you only want to like you, Emily, you don't want just other mortgage brokers.
And a lot of them follow me because they want to copy what I do. And now I market to them to a degree because we have a social media company that we create content for mortgage brokers to leverage, right? So in that case, yes, but I agree with you. My database on LinkedIn is a lot of realtors and a lot of financial planners, because I get a lot of business from those two areas. So when I'm marketing to people on LinkedIn, my professional network has, a lot of those types of people, a lot of insurance, a lot of, I don't have a lot of doctors on my LinkedIn. It's just not what has, come to me. Plus I, went to school for history and politics. So I have, people in that kind of like realm of world versus like others, right? So that's a lot of my network. Definitely you'll want to go where your people are. And I also think of social media to try and get databases or circle of influences, not end users. So I've always marketed myself to, I'm trying to get your network in my database. So how do I get Emily and all of her financial advisors to use me as their mortgage broker, right? I'm not looking for Emily's one client at the end of the road. So I will market to realtors. So I would ask you as a financial advisor, who is your number 1, 2, 3 referral source? And I would try and get those people to follow you. Right. So I want those people to see me so that they're always sending me business.
So you want to be joined into someone's center of influence network.
Absolutely.
So like, that's the objective, maybe, is like as your LinkedIn page, maybe you want to make a connection to be in someone's center of influence network. And
Yes.
that's probably why we're seeing the disconnect, because we want to go into Instagram. We want to do that because if I'm an advisor for a family market or something like that, like that's where I want people to share. And the funny thing is that when I was 15 years ago, when I joined the industry, it was a lot of like, it was like phone books at the time. That was our network essentially.
Mhm.
But the whole idea was to ask for referrals. And now you're saying that sharing, like when someone shares your content, that's essentially them giving you a referral basis.
Yeah, they're saying, I like what you're doing. I want to show my people.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you got to figure out how to get shares of your content. And plus, like back to LinkedIn, I kind of feel like LinkedIn is shifting to the idea that, you know, what our web pages used to do is that after someone got an introduction to you, then they would check your information right on LinkedIn and your website just to confirm you're who you say you are and you have credibility.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like LinkedIn is kind of moving in that direction as well, where it's like,
Oh yeah.
after the fact, they check who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And does that look like you? Is that what do you want them to see? Right? So creating that brand. And at the end of the day, you know, I am self-employed. So even though I don't want to be in marketing because it's just, I'm in mortgages, but you have to go get the clients on the mortgages. So you have to think about yourself as a big brand. And I challenge you to think of yourself as a big brand. You are the advisor. So you need to think about yourself as if you are the company, the forefront. What does that look like? Who is that person? And how are you going to build that trust with the audience so that they want to use you as their provider?
Love that. How do you feel about Facebook groups? I'm hearing a lot of like center of influence networks being on like a Facebook group these days.
Yeah, I started my business in a mom's group. I funded my first 10 mortgages in a mom's group. Again, you can't just be in a group and say, give me a recommendation, give me a recommendation. But you can go into there, and I had this quick question routine, and I used to do it all the time. So again, you want to find out who you want to get more of, where do you get the most of your leads from? Where do your industry specialists get them from? Do you know, like is there one or two key referral partners?
Well, like there would always be like a lot of the relationships, like a center influence relationship would be a lot around like a lawyer or accountant, even like a realtor, things like that, or an investment person if you don't do investments. So like a lot of that traditional area, but that's like not a lateral, non-traditional place. Like you're speaking of a mom's group on Facebook, right? Like that
but here's how I would use it. So the quick question strategy, and why I wanted to do this so I could give you exact examples, is does anyone here have a recommendation for a family lawyer? And then all the moms come in and say, I used Emily, I used Brian, I used Ella, you know what I mean? And then boom, you just got 30 names. So now what I do is I take that. This is how I built my business in the beginning. I take those names, I put them in a spreadsheet and a date beside them. So I put like the list of 29 names that was just there, and I Google them because they're businesses, and I go find their email addresses. I find their phone numbers. I send them an email, which is templated. So I'm copying and pasting it. And I say, hey, I just was told by Dawn that you, Emily, are the best family lawyer in Port Credit. I'm sure you get emails like this all the time. However, when I hear somebody give such a raving review, I have to reach out to them to know what they're doing well in their business. It's clear that Lisa thinks you're amazing at your job. And I just wanted to let you know, at the very least, you can tell us it's scripted because I've done it 1,000 times. If you don't want to meet me for a coffee, that the very least you'll know that Lisa's out there saying that you're the best family lawyer in Port Credit, and it should put a very big smile on your face. Thank you so much for taking the time to read my email. And here's a link to my calendar so that we can book an appointment or a conversation. What's the call to action, right? I want to get you in my office, coffee shop, So once I get them in a room, boom, I'm always friends with them. But that's how I get them first. And then, sorry, just my last tip is in the subject heading, you have to put the person's name that referred you.
Yeah.
Lisa says that you're great. No business professional will delete an email that has their client's first and last name in the subject heading, especially if it's a realtor or a financial planner, because if they do, they'll think that person's shopping for a house and hasn't reached out to me. Oh, actually, that person's not shopping for a house, and I'm going to try and reach out to you to get a coffee and a deal.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So Emily, we should probably two things. One, can you send us, Emily and myself, or Lisa, Wendy, any of the ladies, a copy of that pre-approach email?
Sure.
Because I think that in a call like this today, we get lots of ideas and kind of like it's been like a little bit of a fire hose because I've got 4 pages of notes here.
Sorry.
Because no, it's great. It's great because you made me realize I thought I was pretty good, and then you made me realize all the things I don't know. So the tree thing was really good, but the pre-approach layer, we're always looking. Advisors are always looking for that little nugget, that little pre-approach layer that sounds like it works, and that one makes so much sense. It can't not work.
It works.
I think that if we just engaged a little bit of the process and started having some success, this group would become a bigger group as we move forward. And I think that after this call, we need to talk because I got a bunch of ideas, and I'm sure Emily does as well. After seeing you deliver this, there's definitely an opportunity for you to help us guide more advisors to how to actually utilize this and develop a process. I know I see Nico Bruno on here from Montreal, and he has funnels and he's getting leads, and he has a white paper that he sends out to people that reach out to his website, and he's engaged in social media. I'm sure even he gained something from this call today. I'll talk to him later to see what he thought about it, but I really appreciate your time today, and I don't want to take any more of your time, but this could go on all afternoon. And as soon as people feel free to talk, and I think that comes with a little bit more time as well.
Yeah.
Once they try a couple of things, they, I tried that, but it didn't work. And then you might help shape, well, you tried it, but you didn't kind of word it just right. And maybe your call to action isn't that strong. Or maybe, you just mentioned Calendly. So I bet you that most of the advisors here don't use Calendly. And I know that Nico does and others do. But most don't.
And it can be any booking time, but we waste so much time saying, "Hey, Dawn, does this time work for you?" No, I'm busy at Tuesday at 3:00. Well, does 4:00 work? I don't know. I'm doing this. Oh shoot, I actually have a conflict. I had my other calendar up. It's like, here's the link. You pick what works for you. And sometimes they put a little explanation as to what they're calling about or they want, and they put what contact number they want. Because how many times have you booked something and then it's like, I don't even have their phone number.
Well, every open table office, every open table restaurant, every doctor, massage therapist uses that. So why wouldn't we use it? I don't know, but I'm sure many of us don't. So
and so Emily, like you just expanded your market today to meet some new people.
I hope so.
So
I'll be checking my Instagram later to hopefully see some new connections on Instagram and LinkedIn. I hope that you'll all add me.
And you're nationally, you run your business nationally, and you're available to reach out and follow Emily on a platform, and this
absolutely
is a great conversation. And just again, like a center of influence, I love that you touched on that, because there's a give and take to a center of influence, right? If you are just asking for a referral out of your center of influence network, you will probably not be in it long or have a lot of success with it for long, because it is a network that is you're supposed to provide information to, gather information from, and then a referral base as well. So it's just important to have those 3 components to it. It's a give and a take. So
when we talk about relationships, right? It's very simple, the idea. It's the same thing. We're just doing it on a different platform. So you're giving and taking. A relationship is 2 people. It's not just one-sided. I'm talking at you. It's engaged. It's present. It's true. It's genuine.
It's 2 ears, 1 mouth, and
absolutely.
So Emily, the final question and a call to action. One of the advisors has reached out and says, does Emily offer her social media services to us advisors?
So I have for realtors, like a package you can download. What I have is templates that you can customize, but I don't have an expertise in your area of focus. So it would be a challenge from an accuracy perspective for me to be able to do that. But what I could do is I could share, a Canva template that you could download, rebrand, and put your own wording on it. So that would involve you taking out what is a mortgage term. Although you may want to share some of those types of things like a glossary. I don't know how much of that you would do. But saving for a down payment probably is something that you speak about in your business. Those types of things. I can share a template with like 100 kind of like frameworks where you can like Google reviews, you would cut and paste them. That's something that's everyone needs, right? Like, and then you would go in and put your own colors, your own logo. You would want it to have your business details. Yeah, that's certainly something I could do.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thanks, ladies. That was great.
My pleasure. Great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, have a great day, everyone. And thank you for showing up.
Thanks, everyone. This was wonderful.
See you later.
Bye.